Another very important topic is cows' treatment. Unlike what we want us to believe, most dairy cows have no chance to graze at pastures or live freely. They live in enclosed spaces, are forced to walk on concrete slabs, and are surrounded by the metallic sounds of machinery and iron fences. Milk is a huge industry, and sadly, most of its production in factory farms causes an incredible suffering. Farmers cut cows' horns because they can hit you. This is called decontamination or upper amputation if you do it at a very young age. And they do not use anesthetics, or they are subjected to legal but very painful practices such as the application of caustic paste to prevent the growth of their horns. Very often, preventative practices and care for these animals are carried out by the farm's operators and not by veterinarians, as is required by law. Cows are impregnated over and over, separated from their young shortly after birth, and slaughtered once their tortured bodies are not productive anymore. They make them pregnant every year and produce milk until they are about 4 years old, when they lose their productive age. Although the life expectancy for the cows is much higher, it's about 20 years. We kill them when they are about 4 years old. The meat of dairy cow is not very appetizing, so we grind it up into a ground beef and we sell it to the fast food industry to use it for hamburgers. And when you go in and order your big bag of your Whopper, what you're really eating is ground up old dairy cows. We've become so disconnected from where our food came from. People in the dairy industry advertising a lot. And when we think of where does cheese and milk came from, we think of a big happy dairy cow in the barn happily giving milk, like it's a natural thing to do. No, it's not. There is only one reason why that big mammal is in the barn and giving the milk. Like every other mammal, she just had a baby. She carries a calf for 9 months, just as a human mother does. She gives birth to that calf, and that's a 60-pound baby. Can you imagine how painful this is? There is no greater bond in nature than the bond between mother and baby. Because if it were not for this bond, that mother does everything to raise the baby, the species would not survive. And the dairy industry demands that this bond would be broken. Otherwise, they cannot sell the product for the sake of which they inseminated the cow. This is their product, not cows. According to a study conducted by the University of Veterinary Studies in Vienna, being separated from their families presents a huge emotional toll for the cows. Dairy cows undergo further stress as they are milked 2 to 3 times a day. In order to keep that milk flowing, you've got to keep making that cow pregnant. Dairy cows are artificially inseminated at the age of 2. They are then separated from their baby in order to collect the breast milk for human consumption. In about 10 months, a single cow can produce 15 gallons of milk per day, which is 14 gallons more than she would produce in the wild. The enormous physical effort it takes to produce that much milk will ruin cow's body and lead to premature death within just a few years. The intensive production and never-ending milking causes serious damage to the body of the cows. Often their breasts became inflamed, causing mastitis, a very painful infection. Calves that are born are very soon after torn from their mothers and confined into small boxes. The calves are kept separate from each other, often in a terrible, unsanitary conditions. Their feeding is totally artificial, and since they will never see their mother again, they are given pacifiers. The male calves are sold to the veal industry, and the females often became dairy cows themselves. While some argue that cows need to be milked, this is false. Their milk is meant for their offspring and contains a specific structure of protein and fat meant to raise a baby calf. The purpose of cow's milk is to turn a 65-pound calf into 400 pounds cow as rapidly as possible. Cow's milk is a baby calf growth fluid. Does anyone else think that something isn't quite adding up here? Dairy industry doesn't care about you or anyone else. For the past 100 years, the dairy industry has manipulated us, lied to us, and colluded with the government to make more money at our expense, the planet's expense, and, of course, the animals' expense. Do you need dairy in your diet? Absolutely not. Individuals can be very healthy with no dairy consumption at all. In fact, a quarter of Americans can't even digest the milk. You can get all these important nutrients like calcium, protein, and vitamin B12 from other sources. Leafy greens, lean meats, and whole foods have all of these nutrients without all the sugar or hormone increases associated with dairy. There are plenty of plant sources that are more calcium dense than milk. For example, fresh and dried herbs like basil, parsley, and thyme, sesame seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, almonds, tahini, tofu, garlic, Brazil nuts, blackstrap molasses, and also lots of dark leafy green vegetables. Seeds have calcium, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, tahini dressing. In terms of protein levels and nutrition value, only soy milk can compare to cow milk. The other need to be artificially enriched to reach the similar levels of vitamins and calcium, so they can be an alternative to milk. To suggest that someone should drink milk to get their potassium and magnesium is like suggesting that someone inhaled a cigarette smoke to get the oxygen. Yeah, there is oxygenated, but there is a lot of other stuff that will harm you. And the same thing is true for the dairy food. Your body is truly a temple, and it's the one thing that you have to carry you through in your life. So take care of it. Eat right for you and see what works with your body and what doesn't. What causes a reaction? Just know, whenever you like it or not, some sort of dairy is found in most products, including chocolate, sauces, or desserts. If we know milk isn't necessary, then why not change the recommendation? Instead of milk with every meal, why not tell people to drink water? It's impossible at this point in time, because the political forces would not allow the dietary guidelines to say anything about limiting red meat or dairy consumption. The dairy industry gives millions to politicians who protect their interests whenever the nutrition guidelines comes up for review. And it's not like there is a broccoli trade groups giving money to politicians and running multi-million-dollar ad campaigns. If there were, our dinner tables might look a little different. Milk consumption has declined by 40% since the 1970s, and in the UK the decline is 50% in the same period, with decline accelerating in more recent years. This has caused a great concern to the dairy industry, and so, with a changing market and trends are showing an increased decline in milk consumption. How has industry responded? Maybe diversifying and swapping to plant-based production? Oh no! Instead, they are turning their focus to export more dairy products to countries in Asia, the area of the world with some of the highest rates of lactose intolerance and who currently have among the lowest rates of breast cancer, prostate cancer and osteoporosis. This was the last video of free video series. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like the video, please hit that like button. If you don't, well, dislike, but let me know why don't you like it. And please check the other 2 videos about the dairy as well. Thank you for watching and see you next time.